This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
What's up, Power Athletes? Welcome to episode 64 of Power Athlete Radio. This is Denny. I'm here with John, Luke, and Tex. We're just hashing out, kind of picking up on a conversation that we started about 10, 15 minutes ago, recapping a little bit of the Mark Watts episode we had on just like the kind of general status of strength and conditioning coaches that are out there. And anybody following the Field Strong program knows that John's putting in a testing week. So maybe we should just kind of carry on with our conversation, guys, because it sounds like we're really starting to get into some good shit.
No, I think it's a great place to start. What Denny was kind of questioning a little bit is, what is professional strength coaching? What is collegiate strength coaching as a professional? This is how I make my money and this is what I do, strength coach. How does that really translate to what we know? And more importantly, do these people really ever get outside of their box, or do they really just stay in a lane? And once they're in that lane, there's no deviation from that lane. And how many are actually going out to, learn from new people, going out and seeing what the world's best are doing? And I think what happens is it's just like everybody and anybody that's ever been to college or ever been to anything high level knows that people get stuck within this track of academia of, hey, this is who I am. And I saw it at Berkeley. I mean, there were guys, I had teachers and people in my graduate study program and professors, PhDs that had gone to underground, that had gotten their master's or PhD and had done all of their work within one field at Berkeley with their colleagues and had no desire to ever leave and to never ever venture out into the world and go teach anywhere. So I mean, that type of mentality where it's like, hey, I'm on this track, this is what I'm doing, I think can be extremely beneficial, but also can be really, really dangerous. And, we see that with strength coaches. This is who I apprenticed under, this is the system I'm in, and this is what I do. And, there's nothing else has any validity because this is the only research I've ever done on this deal. And what we talked about earlier and what we offline is where we kind of differ a little bit with the Power Athlete CrossFit Football is we have taught, dozens, hundreds of seminars all over the world working with thousands of athletes. And what we've seen people go through a strength conditioning program. We've put them through their training. We've instructed them in their lifts, talked to them about programming, and we've really indoctrinated people into this methodology. And we've done it on such a massive scale that we've just seen more people do anything. I mean, I believe we've probably seen more people train and worked with more athletes than most people that have a PhD at a collegiate level or, professional strength coach, just for the sheer fact of we're actively going out and working with these people. So it's provided us a certain perception and definitely the ability to kind of see everything in 2 or 3 times speed. So it's been very beneficial for that.
Yeah, obviously there's politics involved, but I've been looking at some of the Charlie Francis stuff that Tex cited in his Quickness and Praxis article that we're going to get to in a little bit. So in that, if anybody's ever read that, it kind of starts off with hey, here's the classical periodization table, and here's kind of what's wrong with it, and this is what I'm doing. So in that conversation, Tex had just kind of mentioned that's kind of where I shouldn't say all, but the majority strength and conditioning coaches that are out there, they're kind of stuck in that classical template. And that's fucking disappointing to me.
Well, I mean, Pete, to quote our good friend Greg Glassman, we fail at the margins of our experience. So if you've only gone so far and this is what you've done as a strength coach, then you've really never pushed it. Then you don't necessarily know it's out there. If the person you apprenticed under, if your university professors and all the study you've been doing is within this classical periodization where I'm going to start in the preseason with 10s, then we're going to move to 7s, and then we're going to move to 5s, but maybe move to 4s, so we can't go to 3s because obviously the weight would be too heavy and there's too much risk of injury. And you kind of get into this whole kind of classical periodization deal where it's this kind of ascending volume and intensity deal, and you're going to have your accessory work, you're going to put it all through. Then you know what, you're never really going to go past what that is. I mean, it's not as if that classical periodization was written and that was the law, that was the word of handed down on the third stone tablet when Moses walked down off the mountain and handed, that third stone tablet was, the strength conditioning principles where this is classical periodization. I mean, we've really gone out and seen that, classical periodization has worked for certain people and for other people it doesn't work. And that we've really kind of thrown it away and, realized that, this kind of volume and intensity model has been, while we're definitely taking some cues from how to periodize the program, this idea of, that you have to build an aerobic base and go to these things just really hasn't really paid off as well as they thought it would. But there's people that hold true to that stuff. I mean, much like religion, where that's what they believe in, that's what they teach, that's all they know, and that's all the instructors and the people that they've been around teach. So then therefore that is the word of God. And unfortunately, that's kind of sad when you can't look outside and see the bigger picture of things.
I agree. Let's talk about the testing week.
Okay, great. So the way the power athlete really is morphed is this idea that we've started 3 cycles. We started with the first cycle, which was the introduction phase, which I always like to call was the dating phase, where you got into people. We had a little bit of clusters. We had a good amount of conditioning. We really kind of introduced people, and that was really people's first exposure to Field Strong. And then into that second one, we got into what I call our tensile strength building program, which was putting sandbags, heavy awkward implements, unilateral movements, a lot of lunging, stepping, just forcing people to get out of their comfort zone and get away from that really nice anatomically correct deal known as a barbell. That's pure Olympic lifting. We went with our great dividends and worked with a bunch of different athletes. And it just really comes down to this idea, and we can go back to Pavel, really greasing the groove, where we're giving people enough lifts to help them get proficient at Olympic lifting. I think where really people struggle with Olympic lifting is never really getting enough reps to really be good at the stuff. So with the Force program, we have a really a very finite, very set amount of reps and tonnage that we were going after. Almost all the lifts are in that, we start counting lifts over 70%, but the majority of lifts were over 80 to 85%. We were squatting 3 to 4 days a week. It was really 5 training days. And the way we broke up the light, heavy, medium was not based on percentage, but really on volume. After that third cycle, I realized that I wanted to do a testing week. I wanted to see who the athletes were. We'd had it out there long enough, and I needed a way to be able to test these guys and be able to figure out where we're going in the next cycles. And more importantly, if there's a divergence between the two groups. I had a theory, and Luke and I, I've really talked about this for a long time, that if you can take a big, large cross-section of people and you can put them into the funnel, really their first exposure to strength training with our linear progression, or really our amateur profile, you're going to have those people come out and they're all going to be kind of in the same place. From there, we needed a way to really, and we know what we want to do with the program after we get to that collegiate and that advanced template, but we wanted a way to be able to test them. We wanted a way to be able to really, start focusing on their weaknesses and bringing up their strengths. So that's really what this testing week is all about. So day one, we jumped out there and we did a strength jump deficit test, which was comparing your ability to do a counter jump, which would be like just a standard jump where your hips are completely open. You go down to a closed hip and then you jump up as high as you can for a vertical jump. And then the second one is you squat down into a position and you pause for 3 seconds, hopefully taking the stretch reflex out of it. But after talking to Louis Simmons the other day, they were able to do testing that showed the stretch reflex lasted as long as 8 seconds.
Yeah, but those guys are
they're mutants, superhuman mutants. So we took those numbers, and then the next one we did was our muscle fiber test, where we had you work up to a 1 RM for the collegiate professional and a 3 RM for our amateur athletes. And then we had them cut to either 85% or 87.5% and bust out max reps. So really what that one does is it shows us what your 1 RM is, and then your capacity, your ability to do reps at 85%. Over a certain amount, you're a little more on the slow twitch. Under a certain amount, you're a little more fast twitch. But we needed a control for that. So we threw in a max rep pull-up test. And what that really was about showing us was, where's your limiting factor? If all of a sudden we know you got a big, strong back, you got at least 10 to 15, 20 strict max or pull-ups. Obviously, you've been training long enough. You got a pretty strong back. So then therefore we can put it out. Now, if we saw an athlete who, let's say squatted 400 pounds and he had 2 reps at 85%, but he only had 1 max pull-up, then we know his limiting factor is really his back. From there, we transitioned into day 2, which was our bench press test, where we had him work up to 1 RM, a 3 RM, and then max reps at that 85 and also 87.5%. And that was another kind of muscle fiber test. And then we threw a control at you with a bent over row. So we've been really fascinated with people's ability to do a horizontal row, just because it's not, even though we put it in our program, it's not something people traditionally do. So we asked you to strap up and figure it out. Now, what should that ratio be? I have a number in my head based on what I can do and what the people around me can do, but we want to see what you guys do as a cross section. So that's why we're excited to see that number. And then the tomorrow, which is even going to be more fun, and this is kind of based off of Louis' recommendation a little bit. He wanted to see what you guys could do for a just max effort box jump, max height, and then also a seated box jump from a parallel box. So it'll be interesting to compare those numbers with Monday's numbers. Thursday's going to come back, and we're going to have a 50-meter max effort sprint. So we're going to see how fast you guys are in the 50 meters. Get 4 to 7, top end reps over 90. And then we're going to come in and we're going to do a 1 RM power clean, 1 RM power snatch. So for years, I've been saying that Olympic lifting was just like vertical jumping with weight in your hand. So if you notice, majority of these tests are all about your body's ability to get vertical displacement. So we know that that's a direct indication and directly indicator of strength. So we're going to see what that is. And then on Friday, we're going to come back with a 1 RM press, 3 RM press, and send some max reps at either 85 or 87.5%. Then we're going to have a 1 RM or a 3 RM chin up. So you're going to strap weight to your body. We're going to see what you can get for 1 max, the heaviest single rep you can do on a vertical pull. And then we have a conditioning test. So I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I'm pretty sure if you've been reading the forums and know, it's we're going to have a little bit of a conditioning test. I gave everybody a little introduction to it last week, and we're going to see what you guys got. And we'll compare it to what we ran in the NFL. And then come Saturday, we'll have another little conditioning test. So more classic CrossFit type deal. And we're going to see what you guys can handle. So I'm really excited to get these numbers and this information, just for the sheer fact that I'm getting background and history on everybody. Everybody's giving me their training, their weight, their age, how long they've been training, what they've been doing, what does it look like, a little bit of history. So it really helps me kind of see who the group is and really start, devising some program. And I already have some ideas on where this thing's going to go a little bit. So it's great information, and I'm super excited. I know Tex is too.
What I'm curious to see is, in the past, when I've been on templates that have had me at like 80% of something, and I'm talking years ago, basically before I found you guys, people will say, like, if you want to get good at heavy 1 rep, maxes, you got to do 1 rep maxes. And it was like, when I was at 80%, I got good at 80% weights, but when the day came where it was like, all right, here's let's see you max out on the back squat, and I might put up a good number, but it wasn't like what I had expected. I thought I would just go in and fucking smash it. And then I started thinking, well, maybe it's because I was kind of in this 80% zone for too long. And it sounds like what you've seen so far, because I'm like 2 weeks back on the program. So I won't be doing the testing this week. But it sounds like what you're seeing is you're already seeing like great results. at, like I'm assuming, like this, the Bob Takano program that you wrote, everything is like sets of 4 at like 85%.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really differs. Like on the heavy days is 4s, but we might even go down to doubles and triples on the less volume days. But for most people, what was really beneficial about this program was their ability just to get reps. I mean, obviously for the more advanced lifter, something like 4s might not be as beneficial, but for people that are kind of in that intermediate kind of beginning stage. And I remember when Bob first suggested it to me and kind of wrote me out kind of the little matrix a little bit that he asked me to sign the program off of, I looked at it and thought, fuck, this guy's crazy. There's no way that 4s are going to be good for Olympic lifting. And I'm like, squatting 4s? I mean, it just seemed like kind of an oddball number. And we wrote the program and I showed it to him and he said, looks great. Now I want you to test it. I want you to use it with a bunch of your athletes. So we ran the program for 9 weeks. And when we went to go max out, everybody was like exploded. Like everybody PR'd their lifts, and it wasn't by like 2 or 3 kilos. It was like 10, 15 kilos, and even the more advanced lifters. I mean, Bo Bergner, who's a pretty advanced lifter, comes in and just was absolutely crushing all of his lifts, crushing his squats. Jesse, myself, Kate, my wife, I mean, everybody that we had doing the program, and it was a pretty large cross section, just had phenomenal results. And I think the reason was it was just giving us more opportunities at the lifts. And everybody was just more wired up. It was giving us enough attempts. The weights were heavy enough to keep driving adaptation, but not so heavy that technique was breaking down. So people were really building these neuromuscular pathways and were doing really well. And, the program was great. But just like everything, it has a time and it had a place. We used it for a point, and then I was able to transition into a different style of training. Now, if I had just gone back and run this program, month after month, and this is all I'd been on, I think we would have seen a lot of diminishing returns. But I think it was just different enough and just outside of our comfort zone that it really forced adaptation. And I think we got some really great results. And I think it was a great opportunity to use it here, just because it was, like we said, it was a little bit different. We started with that kind of first introduction program, which was kind of this really classical power athlete template of, intensity and volume, and we kind of go through the whole deal. And then obviously the sandbags, which was, pure field strong mixed with a little bit of power athlete. And now you're getting into a little bit of our oldie stuff. And it's kind of this really cool blend. And I'm excited now to get into this 4 cycle and, start putting in a lot more plyo, a lot more speed work. As we start filming and really getting you guys more, we can start working on a lot of this, just kind of speed and strength. And I think from, the feedback we've been getting is, like with goals, people want to get stronger. They want to get more muscular. They want to put on size. They want to be explosive. They want to be fast. We did have a guy that canceled recently that sent us our feedback, and he just wanted more conditioning. And I've been meaning to email him and be like, well, what are your numbers? Like you might think you know what you need, but we're going to tell you what we think you need. And, you might be in, want more conditioning and burn yourself down. But at the end of the day, man, I want you to be strong. I want you to be fast. I just don't need you to be in great condition. So I think if you're just looking to come in and fucking kick yourself in the nuts and set yourself on fire every day, you're going to get a dose of that, but it's not going to be fucking every day in the meat grinder, just because it makes it extremely hard for me to reach my other goals, which is, I want everybody to have a double body weight back squat. I want everybody to be able to jump up, on a box probably 2/3 of their height. I mean, we love, as we were kind of going through laying out, what I would envision for this. And this really started with Luke and I talking a little bit. When I asked Luke about his goals, like what do you want to be? Do you want to be, 4% body fat? Would you rather be this? I kind of laid it out to him, and he's like, I just want to be so explosive and so fast that when people watch me lift, they think, fuck, that guy's fast. That guy's explosive. He can just rip that bar in half. I mean, you squat and the bar just shoots through like you're ringing a bell, and, be able to jump and move and really be a very, very proficient, very good athlete, and one that's very aesthetically pleasing that people watch. And I think that's pretty lofty goals. I mean, that's a more lofty, more exciting and like something worthy of a goal more so than be like, well, I just want to be, skinny with good abs, or, I just want to go in every day and fucking get my soul destroyed. And you know what? I mean, that's, that people like that shit. But at the end of the day, man, like it's, we're talking about building power athletes. We're talking about creating a large group, an army of people that are just fucking tearing the bars in half and really being able to walk into any gym and do anything and be the best person out there. So, and it takes time. We got to dose, and we got to give everything dose related. We got to give enough of what I want, enough of what you want, and kind of balance the whole thing out. And that's why you're seeing really kind of different cycles. So we can not only expose people's weaknesses, but put them through a really diverse style of training that, follows a little bit of methodology.
And I know we talked about this at length before in previous episodes, but that's the component that people totally forget about is time, the magnitude of time, and the sense that like everybody wants it to happen quickly, but the reality is that's that novice window. That's your first 6 months in the gym, but after that, things come slow. And it's consistency and being persistent with it. And it's shitty because I want it now. Like that's the attitude. But I think most of our people are long enough in their training life cycle or far enough along where they know that it's just, and we've preached it before, it just takes time. And, we're not trying to steer anyone wrong. We have the recipe. We have the combination of volume intensity. It's going to happen. Just stick to it.
Yeah. And it's hard work. I mean, the moving the dirt model has been, we've talked about it so many times, this idea of like, it's this big pile of dirt over here. And I got to move it over here. Some days I get a shovel, some days I get a spoon, but as long as I keep moving the dirt every day, I'm moving towards my goal. The problem is, when you're young and spry and this is your first, experience moving dirt, you're just running in there, just shovel after shovel every day. And then after 10, 20 years of moving that damn pile, you're like, fuck, I still got to move this pile. All right, well, I'm going to give you a big shovel today. Tomorrow it might be my kid's, sand shovel. I mean, who knows? I might even be able to get a teaspoon in there occasionally. But we always were kind of fighting that goal and always headed down that road. And what's exciting too is when I start reading a lot of the feedback I'm getting, it's like a lot of the people that are like, I'm 30, 32, 34 years old. I've been training this long and I've been doing this and now I'm doing this. And these are the gains I'm making. And so people are moving towards it. And I think a lot of people are kind of coming out of this. I mean, what's good is a lot of people I've read are coming out of CrossFit football. So they're used to following a program. They're used to training with a goal. They're used to having this, kind of little periodization deal where, hey, I'm moving from point A to point B and I'm getting there. A lot of people come out of more of a, standard, some other standard kind of, maybe like a normal gym, more normal box environment where it's kind of this constantly varied deal. And, strength was just another element or speed was just another element. And now we've taken a program and really put strength, speed, and power up front and, really kind of, focused on those. And as that kind of comes, we'll, be able to develop everything. But I think everything works a little bit better when you're just stronger.
Yeah, and I like how you're prioritizing like movement. Like you want power athletes to move at a different standard than the norm. And I can remember when Field Strong first came out and started clicking those videos and even like some of the stuff that Luke was doing, I was like, God damn, man, it's just like a different look. Everything, I don't want to say it looks perfect, but it looks proper.
Perfection, Denny.
Don't let it go to your head, Summers.
No, Luke's
probably got a big grin right now, rolling up his sleeves.
But Denny, do you have a camera in here?
No, but I can imagine. But I mean, and you guys kind of touched base on it on the roundtable discussion as well. But going through like the primals and the vertical and horizontal pressing and pulling. I mean, being proficient at movements like that and getting stronger at them, having the tensile strength. Your movements, if you're on a path to master those, when you go do a fucking Metcon or something, and those are, since you're good at the primal movements, you're going to go through the Metcon. You could almost just kind of slow it down a notch and just freaking hammer it out, and you'll still perform probably as more aesthetically pleasing and faster and better. than fucking everybody else who isn't the power athlete.
Well, I mean, we were just watching Killcliff posted up a video of their Battle of the Girls, I think it was, and we got to see, I think it was Stacy Tovar versus Brooke Entz doing Fran, and I mean, Stacy Tovar's movement looks phenomenal. I mean, every squat was really good. She was sitting back in her hips. Her foot placement was good. I mean, full extension. I mean, everything that she did was extremely pleasing to watch, and just no wasted movement. And I was like looking at her, I was like, dude, that was impressive to watch somebody do something, where it's aesthetically pleasing. Now, I mean, we're just talking about thrusters and pull-ups here. I mean, and if she can't thruster and pull up, I mean, she's been in the games for a long time. She wouldn't have got where she is. But I mean, even in, the zigzag run and watching her do some things, I mean, she's a good mover and a really good athlete. And it's always nice to see good athletes doing something athletic. It's always pleasing to the eye, and it's always, fun to watch. And, I think where people get a lot of these contests and a lot of this stuff get a bad rap is, people are trying to move faster than their proper movement allows. I mean, really, it's one of those things where, you develop the movement and you start ratcheting up the speed and the intensity as your body's ability to do these movements. And, people like Stacy Tovar, you see Rich Froning or these other guys do this CrossFit stuff. I mean, they are really, really efficient, good movers. You watch it do it and it looks aesthetically pleasing. I mean, it's just the same thing watching NBA basketball or pro football. We watch these guys run down the sideline, you're watching the quarterback throw. I mean, everything they do is, your natural coach's eye tells you like, wow, that looks really good. That looks really nice. That looks very graceful. It looks effortless. It looks easy. And when we really defined athleticism, I mean, we sat in this kind of beautiful mind moment with, how do we define athleticism? CrossFit went out and staked a claim and said, you know what, this is fitness, much like power athlete is defined, as staked a claim and been like, you know what, this is what it means to be an athlete. And it's that ability to move effortlessly through different planes of motion, different primal movement patterns, and the ability to kind of seamlessly try them together and flow through them effortlessly is really what we think is the demonstration of athleticism. And people, there are great athletes, and there's people that are able to demonstrate athleticism. And watching people do something athletic, the ability to move their feet, change direction, movement space, multiple planes of motion is really what we're after. I mean, we want people that can do all those things well. And so to do those things, we have to give you opportunities to do them, and we have to design a style of training that really prioritizes movement. Now, if the style of training we have just has you with your feet planted and going up and down like you're in a doorway, then you know what? While you might be a great athlete, that's not a great demonstration of athleticism. So a big part of this Field Strong program is, can you step, can you lunge, can we squat, can we run, can we hop, can we change direction, can we do all these things, can we get you moving in a whole bunch of different ways? And is it efficient? Is it good? Are you strong within your trunk? Are you able to, connect, the lower extremities to the upper extremities with this strong, stable platform? And these are all the things. I mean, do you have good posture? Do you have good movement? And then how are you able to tie them together? And I really believe that if you break things down to the minutia, to the individual components, like we said, our primate movement patterns, and we're able to strengthen and challenge those, and then we start tying them together, then I think that's where we really get out. And that idea, we talk about chunking model with, when you look at people teaching them how to read, I mean, like I do with my kids, we have flashcards and I teach them letters, and those letters become words, those words become sentences, sentences become paragraphs, paragraphs become, pages and books, and then, those pages and books become novels. And I really, coming from my teaching background and, my master's stuff, I mean, that was really the fundamental. When I looked at working with athletes and designing this program, that became paramount, and that became such a concept. But I think where people look at it is, in the idea of a lot of stuff. I mean, hey, I'm going to throw a complex movement at you. Like, for example, you bring somebody into your CrossFit gym and you show them muscle ups. Okay, great. What is a muscle up? It's a vertical pull to a horizontal push. So would it make sense to teach somebody to do a strict pull up or a strict pull up on the rings? And then as they develop their strength to become more proficient, stable, then you know what, we're going to teach them how to do a parallel bar dip to a ring dip, and then you can kind of start transitioning these movements. And at some point, you're going to have to transition them into that, movement where you go from the vertical pull and then dump yourself into that horizontal push. So, like, that's just an example of what we do and how we've always trained our athletes. Like, let's start with the basics. Let's teach them those initial letters, and then as they become proficient with their letters, we can start adding more and more things together, opposed from just walking calculus. Here's War and Peace, and we're going to throw it at you. So,
I mean, pretty timely text just jumped on, and it's, that's an element of this concept of praxis that he just recently wrote about in his article. Text, do you have us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Awesome. So we can get started now. What are we talking about?
oh, geez.
John was just going through his testing and power athlete model, and Denny was talking about just how great of a mover I was in my demo videos. No, how John's, one of John's objectives with the Field Strong program and our objective with Power Athlete, Power Athlete protocol, is just that aesthetically pleasing movement. And it should, movement and combinations of movement should be fluid. It should be rhythmic. I don't know, like it should almost look more artistic than like grindy, and that effortless combination of those primal movement patterns in terms of how that relates with praxis and quickness. How would you plug in on that?
And you know what, Luke, just to kind of follow up with what you said, the movement should look strong and stable.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just jumping off that, kinesthetic awareness, I called it neuromuscular skill or kinesthetic skill, I think, in the quickness, and that's just your ability of, this is the task, I'm going to control my body through space and then execute it as it's required, whether it's through a description or through a video, and you've never performed that before. That's what we're training through praxis. And then true praxis is you go out to the field, you got somebody guarding you, and the ball's not perfectly placed, but you still got to execute, those toes forward, hard cut, jump, and do everything with your skill set and perform a task that you've never completed before at a high velocity and a high stress.
And then the foundation and fundamentals, that's the chunking model that John was just talking about, in terms of, how can one expect to conquer an unknown complex movement scenario when they don't have the fundamental movement patterns mastered? And that's where it comes down to your squat, step, lunge, various forms of stress in the form of load, repetition, frequency, planes of motion, things like that. So just kind of getting you up to speed, Tex. We were just talking chunking model and the testing period on Power Athlete.
Yeah, and then that's where injuries occur, when that athlete is put in a situation that their body is not prepared for. So even if they've never trained or tested or experienced that situation, even if they've never moved through the transverse plane, that's when they get hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Tex, you just released your hip stability article as well. You mentioned in there, though, that too many coaches focus more on like the sagittal plane of movement with their athletes. And I wanted to ask you if you could, do you have like a couple examples of that?
Yes, 100%, probably too many examples, and at the unfortunate cost of athletes' careers and potential professional careers. So I talk about at the seminar, just experience I saw at Texas. You got these pro caliber guys, and they were doing just sagittal plane violent hip extension every single day, over and over again, and they were really overloading that movement pattern. They weren't doing a lot of stability, mobility, or real change of direction. It was just kind of power snatches, sandbag slams, box jumps. And then 4 of those athletes ended up tearing their groin off the bone. So, the sport of football, you don't know what to expect, especially at the high velocity that those guys are gonna play at. And the coach wasn't even preparing them for those unexpected situations. He was just preparing for, hey, go hard, go fast, hips, explosive, and it was a lot of rah-rah training versus actually preparing these guys for the field of battle. So overloading movement pattern is just, hey, sandbag slams, squats, just in that sagittal plane, and then just doing reps on reps on reps of violent hip extension. Even if it's changing, power snatches to sandbag slams, it's still the same fucking movement.
Yeah.
It's still that bilateral hinging of the hip.
Yes.
Hey guys, Callie's here.
Woo!
Let me plug in here.
What's up, Callie?
Dan said, "What's up?"
What's up?
What up?
Oh, our viewership just went up by 33.3% repeating.
That's one viewer. Technically, 50%.
Kelly's here.
So, Danny, did you have any other points that you wanted to talk about with Tex's quickness article?
Well, I definitely like how we went into the reaction time. How, quickness isn't speed. Speed, from what I know of speed is just like movement in any different direction. If you were to like focus that direction, then it's more velocity. And in that article, Tex talks about, quickness isn't speed. Quickness comes down to reaction time. And then he gives what the definition of reaction time is. Right, Tex? The latency phase, and what's that other one?
I got it right here. So we got latency and response phase. So latency phase is genetic.
Yeah, and so could that be improved on? Because in that article, it's kind of like, well, it's genetic. It is what it is. But I'm starting to think of like Daniel Coyle's book, and if you would try to improve that, myelination, does it work?
So that myelination, that's the second part. That's going to be your response phase. And then I included anticipation because, the more kind of situations you're going to find yourself in a sport, the better and faster, quote unquote, you're going to react, and quicker you're going to react because you recognize that situation. But when I was writing this, I was using myself as an example. I played D-Midi in lacrosse, and where I thrived and was really successful was in 6-on-6 and then kind of 5-on-6 situations where they ran plays. And so I could read a play and I could be in a position to, perform better. But then when I failed and I faltered, most often was just one-on-one situations, fast breaks when I had to react and, be quick. So it's kind of the combining that anticipation and then responding. You can get in that position quicker. So if we train the position, we can essentially get quicker. We can't do anything about the latency phase, but we can train that foot position, that position you can get your hips in to play defense, respond to a pass rusher, and do anything like that. I think John's may experience some quickness drills, and the fastest he's experienced more fast stresses than any of us have. I don't know if he's got a take on quickness.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, we needed to put together and that was something that we commented on and I talked to you about after the article is, what's the practical takeaway of that? And it's great information, but I'm sure people read that and they thought, well, how do I implement this into my training? And so something that we got to do, we got to go out there and actually put in a practical together, and we'll put in a lot of the stuff. Tex, we used a bunch of it when we worked with the Reebok guys or the athletes out at Reebok, that ability to, start in one pattern and get into the other. And then, the other best part for the quickness is also the reaction stuff, but also competing against somebody. So it's super hard to get in there and start doing reaction drills and quickness type stuff if you don't have somebody to compete against and you don't have another person calling it. So, but you can also do things where you have somebody going you, but it's really hard to do a lot of high level reaction without some form of competition involved. So, we'll have to go and put together a series of drills and also kind of add this stuff in when we do, here in the our fourth deal.
Yeah, man. And just based off what I've been reading, kind of, we're going to take the approach of, you got to train auditory, you got to train visual, and you got to train tactical. So just feeling and moving. And then you got to train quickness out of, the X, Y, and the Z position. So the lunge, the step up, and essentially kind of your athletic position, the X. So, we're going to piece that together, but then have a lot of conversations and kind of develop a program. I looked around, there's nothing for it. And I know my athletic career I didn't have anything for it, and I faltered because of it.
There was one drill that I really go back, and to this day I think is probably one of my better, better drills, and I've played this game for years with people. Is my brothers and I used to play Bloody Knuckles and Hot Hands, and Bloody Knuckles Hot Hands, that was like our game wherever we were. I mean, we're sitting in the back of the car, we're screwing around, we don't have anything to do, we play Hot Hands and Bloody Knuckles. And that game, I firmly believe, that and the boxing stuff was so beneficial for me as a kid to developing fast hands. So I had an opportunity. I was in Japan a couple of years ago, and we were at my buddy Rick's agent's house, this guy Masa. And Masa's like, I think one of the, his level of mastery for martial arts was, so far off of the charts. I mean, I remember it was like, he had multiple, disciplines, and he was a 10th degree black belt in all these. And, Masa's in his 50s and trained from the time he was 3 years old. And claimed, and I asked him about his hand speed, and he said his hands were fast. So we ended up playing some Bloody Knuckles and some Hot Hands after a few drinks. And Moss's hands were fast, but it was actually not tiny. It wasn't his hand. It wasn't that his hand speed. It was the fact that his hands were so calloused and so fucking calcified that when we did the first one, he would put our knuckles out, and I did this. As I went to hit him, I hit his hand. It was like hitting a cinder block. And I was like, damn, I wish he'd moved his hand. Yeah. So, and he like looked at me and he kind of winked a little bit. And I was like, oh, this motherfucker. But we ended up having a pretty good game.
That reminds me of yesterday when you were trying to catch flies out of midair.
Well, that's
training. We were training quickness in the office.
Yeah, there were some fruit flies hanging out in here.
So I called you the Count of Monte Cristo, and you actually got that reference.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what am I dodging? Droplets
of water.
I mean, so much of what we did, as an NFL player, especially offensive lineman, was that ability to set back and then be able to put your hands anywhere you want. I mean, it was one of those skills that I developed at a young age and really just paid dividends for the majority of my NFL career. And I just don't think people put enough, really, like just emphasis on these type of things. I mean, the other big one was juggling. How many people in here can juggle? I'm going to raise my hand.
I raise my hand as well.
Yeah. So juggling was a big one.
Juggle off.
So when I was a kid, my brother told me the only thing I was going to be able to do in life was join the circus. So I better pick up a talent. So I started learning to juggle when I was pretty young, and that was another thing.
It's a good thing you didn't say like prostitution or something.
That's what your brother tried to sell you when you were a kid.
I accidentally said that.
You were like, that came out of your mouth, and you're like, Sean's totally going to take this to a bad place.
I know it. But it's funny. I know I'm kind of coming to the tail end of this conversation, but this sort of reminds me of like training quickness and stuff and reaction time and being in a good position. It's funny because Ben actually had myself and like 4 other people in class the other day, and he had us training reaction time. So he would tell me and the other people how much weight he wanted us to add. And then on his command, he would like shout our name or give us like a command. And we didn't know what the interval was going to be like, but he was dictating like both the weight and like when he wanted us to go. And our job was like stay as tight as possible until it was kind of like boom, like speed, and then how fast could we like move the bar? And then obviously like it was a sub-maximal load, but I just thought it was just an interesting thing because everybody has their way that they like to approach the bar, a way they want to lift or a speed that they're comfortable with. But I just thought like reacting to his auditory kind of commands was an interesting thing that I hadn't done. So
what was the movement you did?
We were doing power cleans and hang power cleans. Huh. Yeah. So it's just being as explosive as possible and kind of like that loaded position.
Nice.
It was cool. It was very, very cool. So there you go.
Kelly, you know what? I haven't had a chance to talk to you, and if so, I forgot.
Well, you don't return my phone calls anymore, Denny.
You know what? I'm always busy.
That's what they all say.
We're going to kind of change up the subject, but
I'm scared.
The skill on your, the snatch warm up and like the clean warm up. All right. Mm-hmm. You're in those videos. Great mover as well. Don't let it go to your head. Like Luke's already there, and like he's probably still smiling because I gave him a good comment.
That's why That's why you don't see me in a lot of demo videos, because they're like they almost think I'm too good. Yeah.
Oh no, but with any kind of squatting movement, right? You do like this little forward pelvic movement and then sit back. I wanted to ask you about that.
That's something that I picked up from Ben, actually. Ben does the same thing. And it's more of like when I'm going for, like, say a set of 5 or something, I sort of stack my hips underneath my shoulders, and I don't know, it's almost like a mental thing. It's probably not necessarily a good habit, but it's not creating any poor movement patterns to me. So like John, what he's talking about is like where you get set and you kind of tuck your hips underneath. And to me, that's just like my mental.
What you guys do though, but you go from a kind of unloaded position, you squeeze and then you go back.
Yeah, well, hypothetically, the idea is to stay locked, but
Yeah, you guys go from a lax position and then you go back. Whereas I would expect that when you took the bar off, you would already be in that position
right.
to squat back. So if you're able to get up there and I can do the lambada with the weight.
Right. Well, the thing is, I don't do typically when I'm unracking the bar, I don't do it on my first rep. I'll do it on the subsequent reps, and I'm not sure why that is, but
you know who also does that? My brother Ed does it.
Ed?
Maybe you got it from my brother Ed.
How dare you?
maybe you have been taking cues and training from my brother Ed.
Right, well, maybe. We have been playing a lot of Bloody Knuckles lately. You there, Denny?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, we all have sort of like our weird things. And like John said, I remember being coached up like when I originally came out here, and he would just kind of tell me like, you just need to sit back. You don't have to have any of that hip English. Stay tight, and you just need to sit back. Like, don't try to disconnect the pelvis in any way. Don't try to adjust. Just stay as tight as you can. And so it's like habits that I'm working through, but everybody has some like fucking weird thing that they do.
Yeah, you know what? I was just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that
you should
missing.
do.
You know what I mean?
No.
Well, normally what I do is I give Callie a walnut, and she has to keep it in her butt cheeks, and she has to crack the walnut as she's squatting. And the problem is we just ran out of walnuts.
Well, I've had the same one for how long have I been out here?
I've been eating so many walnuts.
What about like pistachios?
Well, that's how we eat them. We first crack them with the butt cheeks, and then that's how you get them. Poor Callie hasn't had a walnut. That's why our omega-3s are getting a little low.
Earn your carbs came from, John?
What's that?
Is that where the term "earn your carbs" comes from?
Well, that's where we got to earn the fat.
We tried it with bread. It didn't work out the same.
Yeah.
No. It goes straight to your ass.
Yeah. Literally.
I see some people try and do the same thing, and I also saw it in one of the squatting videos that somebody sent to you guys, and Tex and Luke were kind of coaching them up on what to do. And Tex, you mentioned that certain dude he had like an anterior pelvic tilt, and you're like, you got to get rid of that. Just sit back.
Yeah,
you remember that? I'm sure.
Did I just get disconnected again?
No, you're not. You're in here. Then clicked on mute. But go on, Tex. Go.
I mean, we talk about that a lot. So a lot of people misinterpret the cue. Push your hips back do a little butt flick.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and that's what Callie was talking about earlier. She turns her hips underneath. She posteriorly tilts.
It's because she's putting the vibe out.
No.
We call that putting out the vibe.
No, that's anterior. Anterior pelvic tilt is putting out the vibe. Posterior is a lady. That's the lady squat, where you keep everything close to you and you sit back like a lady, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me say lady one more time. Lady.
Go on, Tex.
But how does the bar affect your pearl necklace?
Stop.
Yeah. It's like telephone. Somebody said push your hips back, then somebody somewhere along the way interpret that as a little butt flick, and then it's just blown up. So that's what we're combating. That's what we're trying to teach at the football cert.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you guys remember Robbie G, one of Carl's training partners from South Bend. He came out to Newport with Carl for a seminar.
Yeah.
Remember when he would flick his hips so violently that the bar would whip.
Yeah.
When his hips dropped out from under him.
Yeah.
And I saw him a few months ago, and he fixed it. He could sit back into it, and it was dead bugs. That was the trick. So anybody who has that hip flip.
Dead bugs. I'm telling you, dead bugs fix everything.
Yeah.
And it's none of the kids at our basketball team, none of them very few of them have any sort of hip flick.
No, because
all right
it's really great because they haven't had poor habits, but we've been having them dead bug like every day like crazy. Yeah, but like awesome. Just for the record, so no one's confused, I don't have a hip flick. Like that was removed from my training a long time ago.
I can see we found a sensitive spot.
Whoa. Listen,
I think I saw a hip
I don't want to talk about it.
So you remember like 2 weeks ago when you made that comment about my hip flick? I don't have that.
I'm still thinking about it. Still mad.
All right, so what do we got as far as any updates coming out of HQ?
Well, I got a question from Murray, our buddy Murray down under. He says, he's asking John, are you planning on having more test weeks in the coming cycles? Sorry if I mentioned it earlier, just joining on.
God damn it, Murray.
Well, yeah, there will be more tests. I would say after this week, there might be another series of lifting tests, maybe with the Ole movements in a couple weeks after we do some other stuff. So this is just kind of the physical testing for just kind of the vertical displacement stuff. But we might have more testing down the road. I know I want to test actually a full clean, a full snatch. We won't do that for a couple weeks. Like I said, we're going to test a power clean, power snatch here on Thursday. So yeah, you never know what's going to come back, but we'll also get into some more conditioning stuff, and we're doing the lactic acid threshold test. We're going to have some more kind of classic kind of what you'd expect in terms of the CrossFit football power athlete stuff. So we might throw those at it, but these tests will come up periodically just so that we can constantly keep evaluating our people. So.
I hope so. I don't know if you guys talked about this earlier because I walked in when you were talking about the testing, but I hope that some people video some of their testing. That'd be awesome. Because part of our concern is that everyone's doing it properly. So just to have an idea of how everyone's kind of conducting and just making sure they're administering their own tests appropriately.
We'll start a thread. The forum.
Start a thread. I know a guy. He'll start a thread.
Yeah, and we also have that spreadsheet coming out.
Yeah.
So please.
Yeah, write down your results. You're going to get a link for a spreadsheet later tonight to record all this stuff so we can have it.
I've been trying to scribble them down on a yellow pad, and it's looking like a crazy person.
No, we're gonna format it, cube it, chart it, heat map. You know what I'm talking about.
Rechart it. Yeah, I got you.
We're going to have color coding. We're going to create this big banner in here, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's
in the Matrix.
So,
we're just going to stare at it after like 10 tequilas.
Sounds
try and get that
sounds like you have a really specific vision for that.
So you want me to take it?
So you got to take care of that.
But so Denny, you want some updates from us? What's going on?
Absolutely. Somebody asked me the other day, because I'm assembling my team of destruction for the Power Athlete Team Series,
nice.
And it's like, where's it at? And I'm like, well, I know it's in Chicago. Well, which gym? And I'm like, they haven't announced it yet.
Well, it's in Chicago. Come on.
Is that all you need to know? Bears.
Yeah, it'll be at Neil's gym out there. So CrossFit Amplify.
Oh, Naperville.
CrossFit Naperville.
It's going to be at Naperville?
Yeah. So Neil's expanding.
Oh, Neil's probably got a huge fucking Woody on that.
Yeah.
What's a Woody?
Well, he's a character in Toy Story. Tom Hanks is the voice.
Oh yeah.
But
I love him.
So Neil's expanding his gym this year. He's got a couple other rooms that it's going to be a little more suitable for an event of that caliber. So I was over there checking it out and reported back to Callie, and it looks like that we're going to.
Did you say an event of that caliber?
Caliber. And then where else are we at?
So in Baltimore, we'll be at CrossFit Syndicate.
Woo!
Ow! And then in OKC, we're at Coda CrossFit.
Woo!
And then in NorCal, we're still trying to work with Freddie to see where the best possible facility is, because as we know, he moved on to Fremont, I believe it is.
Yeah, CrossFit of Fremont.
CrossFit of Fremont.
R.I.P.
And then Seattle, I'm still reaching out my feelers out there to see if anyone is interested in hosting the Power Athlete Team Series. So we have like 2 gyms we're looking at currently, but if anybody is interested or knows of somebody who might be interested, please just contact me, Callie at powerathletehq.com. And we'll see if they can meet the requirements, but super excited to get things going. Just need you to get your team assembled, Denny, and sign up.
Yeah, I kind of feel under pressure because, fucking Playtech's out here. He's like a professional athlete now.
He's like a
He's
professional.
not
I
like
think I have to do something. Like, I think my team has to win the Power Athlete Team Series.
It could.
Well, are you going to bring in Playtech as a ringer?
Is a ringer.
I mean, now that he's a professional athlete, he's under contract. He probably just can't.
He never
come in
returns
and
my calls.
Yeah, he just can't come in. He can't come in and swoop up on some like on the international global search for the world's most powerful athlete. It's probably a little outside of his realm.
Playtech, no way to defend himself. Right
No,
now.
every time I try to reach out to him, he's got a freaking he's got a dude now.
Is it just his message? He's like, believe it or not, Playtech isn't at home.
The Greatest American Hero song?
Well, I mean,
Is that what you're kind of? That's what it sounds like.
It's from Seinfeld. Don't worry about
well, I mean,
Oh,
I've been-
Seinfeld.
Have you seen all these pictures of Playtech? His hair, the faux hawk is just popping. He's got pictures with his shirt off. He's got a whole new class of friends now.
These are the
Now that
days.
he has a team, he doesn't, the power athlete.
No. And that's not entirely true because he hits us up. He hashtags us like no other.
Yeah, and I text for Playtech all the time. Maybe just got to be nice to him.
You
John.
do?
I know. I'm a little mean to him. I bully him.
It's all right.
It's all right. One of these days. But I just love. I mean, like, what are his students saying that he's just off caravanting, exercising?
Oh, he's crushing it. Summer break, isn't it?
Is it summer break?
He teaches women's studies. They don't care.
How do you know?
Does he teach
I
women's
heard.
studies?
I don't know. I think so.
He's
Professor Booty.
Yeah, I thought that's how he got his name.
Yeah, he teaches the psychology of the woman's mind. And it's just like a little rat running around the wheel over and over again, right?
I don't get it.
By rat, you mean mouse. Yeah.
So the games are coming up, and then we have a bunch of seminars.
The
leading in.
games.
The games, my favorite.
The games.
Yeah, so let's go over the breakdown. So this weekend,
Oh Jesus.
John, Tex, and I are going to be traveling out to San Antonio for the Texas High School Coaches Association.
Yeah.
Callie's going to be back home with Chelsea. They're going to be
I'm competing.
home down before.
Studies?
What's that, Tex?
Nothing. Go.
Whoa, are you still like an hour behind? Callie's holding down.
I gotta go coach.
Oh, okay.
See you, bud.
Bye.
Bye. Callie's going to be competing, wadding, repping.
This is my last competition ever. I swear to God.
Why?
Because I can't do it anymore.
Why?
Because this is a really hard competition. It's gonna suck. If anyone wants to see the workouts, it's called Stars and Bars, run by Proving Grounds. It's in San Diego, and if you're a competitive CrossFitter, you'll be like, "This is nothing." But listen, for me, it's like, oh, I want to just die.
What is it?
It's just lots of stuff. It's
Didn't
3
you just-
events. It's 1 day.
18 pound. Isn't it an 18-pound pistol?
It's basically like the games.
You said you said it's an 18-pound pistol.
Well, I thought it was 18 kilo, so I've been practicing with 18 kilo, and as it turns out, that's my 1RM pistol, so it's a problem. Anywho, and then after this weekend, then we've got
The games.
games.
Yeah. So
Dog games.
we're gonna be out there, have a tent. We're gonna have vertical jump test again. What else?
Curling,
Curling. We're gonna have all you can curl.
the sport,
We also,
not the
I
exercise.
think the assault bike guys, I hit them up to get us an
Oh.
assault bike so we can maybe do some lactic acid threshold testing.
I love
I
it.
just want to stay and look lean, like while I'm there, just exercising the whole time.
That's what I already look like that.
Stop
Wait,
exercising and just don't eat carbs.
Oh, is that it?
And sleep like 20 hours a day.
But yeah, so let's do that. When we did the lactic acid threshold training, so it was 5 rounds, right? 30 seconds. Is that what we did? And we both scored 125 calories on the new air
I
diet.
thought it was like
Shut up.
650. wasn't it?
Impossible.
You got 650.
Oh, 650. Okay. No, I can't remember what we got, but it was
How many? How
of
long?
100.
120. Come on, John. Like,
Okay.
add 20 at least.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, we're gonna have to test that.
Yeah,
one
these
again.
numbers sound extremely
No,
accurate.
John got like 110. I got 98 calories.
For how long? How long?
5 30-second rounds.
Yeah, 5:30
2
seconds.
minutes
Okay.
rest in between.
I think I got a little. Yeah, it was something like that.
You got
A little
110 because
bit
that first one you didn't go off.
That's
but you
pretty
crushed
good.
it on the first round.
So yeah, but yeah, we'll have to do it again because my thing didn't chart up, and then I also restarted it like an idiot. I should have just had a running total. But yeah, we'll do that again. And,
Today.
I think we should do that test at the games, and we will. Let's set the bar, and then if they get over, we'll get like a free tote bag or something.
I think we should set up a Bloody Knuckles booth.
I fucking play Bloody
I hate
Knuckles
that
with
fucking
people
game.
all day long.
All day.
No way.
Should we have like $5
No.
charity?
See,
Bloody
Luke is
Knuckles
scared
game
because
with
he didn't
John
grow
Logan?
up with a brother.
No,
so.
I played. I have sensitive digits. This is the end
So
of my
what
connected
is,
chain. I value this.
Get those tiny little
we'll have
paws.
2 booths. We'll have a kissing booth for Callie and Chelsea. So you come, you pay $5.
They watch us kiss each other.
It's $10 to watch them kiss each other. So $5 if you want to kiss them. You get just like Revenge of the Nerd style, and then it'll be a $5 booth to play Bloody Knuckles with me.
So you pay to get your hand smashed by your big cinder block knee.
But it's for charity.
Oh, okay, I get it.
It's to go to Wade's Army, so I will smash your knuckles for
And then I'll set
$5.
up the let me kick you in the dick booth. You pay $10, I kick you in the nuts.
I think it's a great idea.
All right, we're gonna crush it.
So we got Callie and Chelsea making out. We got Luke giving kicks in the balls,
again?
and then I get to smash your hands, all for charity.
And then Tex will comb your hair.
Linda.
Is Tex coming up?
Yeah,
Yes.
Tex is gonna be here. Denny's
Yes.
gonna be here.
Yes,
What?
Jenny's going to be here. Everyone's here.
Dude, that means we're gonna be able to do a live podcast.
Mhm.
Oh, we
Live from the game.
we need to go find like a Chicago deli, like
Portillo's.
Portillo's.
Take old Benny in there to Portillo's.
Like he hasn't had Portillo's twice today.
Can you guys make that a Sunday event so that you don't have like explosive diarrhea for the whole weekend? You're like, I can't work the booth.
Portillo's, it's organic.
Whatever. You've never heard of moderation when it comes to Portillo's.
Or that cake shake. Luke's like, yeah, try the cake shake. I'm like, I can't eat that shit. I'll die.
So Denny, are you ready for your California adventure?
I am, dude. Next fucking
Dude.
Friday,
Dude. He's like, I got
my
some board
fucking
shorts.
plane lands at 9.
9.
9. And I'm gonna talk like fucking this.
Like what?
Like a Chicago guy with a high, like
A Chicago guy, yeah. Everything's freaking bratwurst and coach.
I love it.
Ditka.
I mean, this is like, like that, guy from the Midwest going to Disneyland, except it's Denny from the Midwest coming to the
Freaking
games.
awesome.
Through the games.
And then after the games, we have a bunch of seminars.
So you got a bunch of
We're
seminars.
back in season.
Yep.
Back in the fist fight.
Because we're not jammed up.
We're going to Booty Spot. We're going to be in Canada. We're going to Perth, and Jersey, right?
So Buford, Georgia.
And the best
Vancouver.
part is, and what's the most important part? Maybe there will be water in a hole in my backyard.
And we're going to have a pool in John's yard. So we're going to cancel the certs in August and just have pool parties.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's going to be
You might get
How do I
there's
get
going to be a
paid?
pull-up rack in the yard, so we'll be able to actually film our workout demos and have swim workouts. And there'll be some barbecue and a kegerator.
So, but that's it. Yeah, that's what we got coming up.
Awesome.
All right, so we're at about an hour here, Benny. So why don't we call it a wrap, and then we'll get sorted out for next week.
Let's do it. I got a coach here in about 5-10 minutes anyway.
Okay.
See you next week, Denny.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.